Love this podcast? Support us by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Hit the link in the episode description to support us now. Thanks for listening and enjoy. Hey, Nicole. Hey, Rolando.
Hey, Eddie.
Hey, Eddie Z.
Wouldn't it be wonderful to see a show about three friends who get together and create social content and funny, wacky comments and shoot it out onto the internet?
I mean,
Wow.
It would be wonderful to see a TV show like that. I wonder where people can see a real TV show like that actually shows the real world of trying to become a content creator in this climate.
But we're not talking about reboots. We're talking about iCarly.
We are talking about iCarly. Thank you.
Yeah,
That was
even
cute.
though they're so similar because it's two hams at the front and then a more modest person
In the back.
in the back.
Actually, I won't lie. Like watching specifically, I guess the revival, that was something that comes up a lot. It's just like, I see a lot of ourselves in this. I think.
Oh,
Is
in
that
the
a good
revival,
thing?
that's interesting. That is
More
really
so in the
interesting.
revival than the original.
Yeah, because I guess they're older and thirstier.
Ooh. Okay.
Ooh, is that shaded ourselves? I don't know. So yeah, let's dish the dirt on iCarly. I'm Nicole,
And I'm Rolando,
and this is Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals.
an original podcast about unoriginality.
We should probably give the heads up. This recording is going to sound a little different. My recorder is having some technical issues, so we're recording through an online platform. So I apologize for the audio difference in this episode, but it's
And
fitting.
we won't. Oh, I was gonna say we're not gonna name what that online audio platform is unless they pay us. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's hashtag sorry, not sorry, but
So iCarly, did you watch iCarly when you were 10 years younger than you are right now? How old were you? 21?
23, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So no, I was definitely not watching iCarly. I can't believe this show's only 10 years old. I guess it makes sense because they had iPhones.
Yeah, actually it
Or
debuted in
iPairs.
2007, so it's a little bit older than that. But you were
Yeah.
still like a late teenager, like graduating from high school.
2007. I was already in
Yeah.
college.
There you go. See,
Yeah.
I graduated from high school and I took some time off before I went back to school. And
Mhm.
I had seen iCarly, because I was still watching SpongeBob. But I didn't watch it religiously or anything, but I was pretty familiar with it. And I never watched Disney Channel.
Mhm.
But when I did watch iCarly, I actually was like, man, this is really entertaining and it's better than any of that Disney crap.
Oh.
So.
You're gonna start suing it because I feel like iCarly could never, when it came to Lizzie McGuire, who I think is
Lizzie McGuire, yeah.
Lizzie McGuire was the superior show in my opinion.
I will take Miranda Cosgrove over Hilary Duff, over Selena Gomez, over
Okay.
Miley Cyrus
Okay,
any day.
except for a Party in the USA. Come on, like that is a bop. Did they play that at our wedding? I could have swore I requested they make sure they play that on the fucking wedding. Now I'm going to
I don't remember it being played,
scrub
but I
through
was.
the music and I'm going to yell.
You should. You definitely should.
Just
You got
like-
the recording of it too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Miranda Cosgrove had a very successful career outside of iCarly. I just know that in terms of the actual, teen show about teens in these platforms, this is the only one that I could kind of stand watching.
Interesting. Why do you think that is?
I think I am definitely my preference is Nickelodeon. I think
Shameful.
that, oddly enough, these characters that are presented to us in iCarly, they're more my thing, where it's a little bit more sarcastic, it's a little bit more eccentric, and a little bit more off the wall, whereas Disney's a little bit more conservative.
No, they usually... Actually, I remember talking to my godmother about this because her kid was watching a lot of Disney Channel shows, and she was complaining that like he was learning how to talk back and be kind of rude because of all these Disney Channel shows. And that was actually, I would say that that's not just a Disney Channel thing. That's like a young like tween show. Like they're always, because all these shows are always representing like kids to be smarter than the adults.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess, at the same time, I'm outing myself that I haven't seen enough Disney Channel shows, but my ex was really into Disney Channel, and I did see, like, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. I saw a little bit of the one with Selena Gomez.
The Wizards of Waverly Place, which is Eddie Z's favorite Disney Channel show.
I do.
Well,
I
it
love that
says
show.
Wizards, so I mean, Wizards is already like something that I'm like, that's cool.
You had me at Wizards.
And they're Hispanic and they live in New York City.
Yeah, they're half Mexican.
Oh, that's cute. All right, then there you go. I didn't watch that. I watched something else. Maybe I'm thinking about somebody else.
Technically, I didn't either. So
Demi Lovato. No, it's the Demi Lovato show.
She never had a show. Did she?
Yes, she did. She had a show.
I know that she was in summer camp.
Camp Rock.
Camp Rock, right?
Yeah, I saw that. I was showed that. Yeah.
Have you seen those cringy TikToks where they it's just like a scene from it where they're like just like kind of doing a stomp or something. So
yes.
Like, hey, ho ho. But I think they just strip away all the sound effects, so it's just the clapping, and it's so fucking, I don't know.
You gotta send that to me. Yeah.
I'll try to track it down. If I find it, I will make sure we add it to the show notes, because Camp Rock is absolutely. They all still have careers after that. It's just such a shock.
Yeah, it was kind of cringeworthy, but I guess that's what's appealing about it. And she did have a show. It was called Sunny with a Chance. There you go. And that's what I was
never heard of this. But there was also a certain point where like there was also a show called Dog with a Blog.
My God, the amount of crap that's thrown out there, I swear. But we're not talking about any of those shows. We're talking about iCarly.
We're not talking about any of those shows. And I think it's important to point out that I'm going to, please remind me, Eddie or Nicole, but like I do want to bring up this important distinction between iCarly and a show that I wanted to see. So.
Oh, interesting. Okay, when should we remind you to bring that up?
When we talk about the revival.
When we talk about the revival. Okay.
When we talk about the revival.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about iCarly, right? Because, our audience might not have been people who watch this show. It might have been, like this is something, we're all a bit older, right? If you're millennials, this might have been a little young for you. Yeah. So iCarly, it's a teen sitcom that ran on Nickelodeon from 2007 to 2012. And I would say, this is definitely was a good time for Nickelodeon. The 90s and early 2000s, has been, it's proved that in Paramount Plus, a lot of these things are getting revived because it had a really strong fan base. This is, in SpongeBob and Jimmy Neutron, Fairly Odd Parents, these were like late 90s, early 2000s. That was what was coming out.
I love the Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah, in terms of cartoons, people still really love these shows. In terms of live action, all that came out in the late 90s. The Amanda show came out, and that was something that, Amanda Bynes got her career kickstarted from that. There was a show called Zoe 101 with Jamie Lynn Spears.
We don't talk about Zoe 101.
Well, okay. There was a show called Victorious.
Wait, you know why, right?
Why?
Because she, had to leave the show because she got knocked up.
Oh, no, I did not know that.
What? You didn't know this? Oh, my God. She was, under 18, and it was, such a big scandal. And I don't know if this was so this could be all absolute, gossip, but, it was supposedly a producer from the show.
That's so interesting because we are going to be talking a lot about a particular producer today.
I'm so glad you're aware of that because when Eddie told me this, I was mortified. But yeah, we'll get to that, guys.
So all of these shows were produced by Dan Schneider. Yeah. Oh, we're on the same page here. All of these shows are produced by a producer, Dan Schneider. He created a lot of their most successful shows. And, I'll just say right now that he is no longer with Nickelodeon, something that we will get into shortly. But let's focus on at least what iCarly is about.
I thought you were going to say he's no longer with us. I'm just like, what? What happened to him? Okay, he's no longer with Nickelodeon for reasons.
Yes, for reasons. So iCarly. It's about Carly Shay, played by Miranda Cosgrove. And, Nickelodeon wanted her to have her own show, and originally she was going to be like a girl who got cast on one of her favorite shows and her being thrown into that world, but they decided that they wanted kind of something that, you know, would be more free and could be more of an improv kind of feeling, but like more eccentric kind of show. So they gave her this show where it's like she has her own webcast. You know, in 2007 too, this was a really creative idea. So Carly Shay, her and her best friend Sam Puckett is the co-host of her show iCarly. Behind the scenes, we have Freddie Benson, who is the videographer. He's in charge of all the technical stuff. He's pretty much the producer of iCarly. He's the neighbor, and he's in love with Carly. He holds a torch. Yeah,
he's so cute.
I've
never seen the show, but I was just like, oh my god, he's so adorable.
Yeah, he's a cutie. Yeah. I guess.
I want to just take him home and raise him.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
We're moving on. There's Spencer Shay, who is Carly's older brother. That's technically her legal guardian. And, you know, he's also later on becomes like an artist, and he's just a complete goofball and, you know, source of a lot of hilarity.
Did you say later on?
On the show.
Because he was always an artist from the pilot.
I think he's a very successful artist, but I guess it's not as important. I think becomes more important.
A plot point, As the show goes on, I'm sure it does become more and more plot points as his artistry and stuff. But
so those are the main people, and then you know there's other characters that come in later on the show. Like there's Gibby, who's kind of like the outcast. There's Freddie's overbearing mother, Marissa. You know, so there's all these different characters that come in and out of the show, but that's the core. And it's an episodic show, so every episode it's just, you know, sometimes they have things carry over from episode to episode, but really it's just like a different theme per episode that they kind of run with. And, you know, it's lighthearted, feel-good stuff. It lasted for 6 seasons, almost 100 episodes.
Almost 100 episodes.
And there's one episode in particular that is the second most watched episode in the history of Nickelodeon.
What episode?
It's called, they all started with I, right?
Yeah,
so this one was called, it was called I Saved Your Life. And it was this episode in where Freddie, I watched it. So Freddie pretty much saves Carly's life.
From what?
She was going to be hit by a taco truck, I think?
She was going to be hit by a truck, and he, like, pushed her over. And he
got
in the way. He got hurt. Almost, you know, got, like, seriously hurt.
Oh my
God. Carly, it's so touched by this effort, falls in love with him, but it's more so her and him realizing that it was more so her just being touched by, you know, what he did for her. But the big thing in the episode is that they kissed, and that was something, you know, people who shipped this relationship were waiting 3 seasons to see that, and then they finally got it, and then they took it away from them like that because they never got together. So.
I just want to say that pushing someone off the road and then getting seriously hurt as a result has always actually been a fantasy of mine for some reason. I don't know where it came from. I don't know how I developed that fantasy, but I'm not even like, I'm genuinely being serious right now. Like, it's always been, I want to say that maybe Seventh Heaven had a little bit of something to do with it, but I'm not sure.
You also got it from the book, Dante.
No. I had that since before I read Dante.
I know that you
but
didn't get it from it. I'm just saying that was also a big theme in that.
Maybe that's why I love the book so much. Dante and Aristotle discovered the secrets of the universe.
Wow, that happens in that book?
It is a big plot point in the book, yes.
Oh, wow. Oh, how romantic.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems so heroic and also like so selfless. But then you could lord it over the person's head. I don't want to die in the process. I just want to make that clear. It's always been my point to push someone, then get seriously hurt. All right. Anyway, back to the show.
I actually kind of want to take that apart, but maybe we'll do that off the
bonus content, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, so, you know, this show, the dynamics too is that, you know, Carly, she's the main character, obviously, and she's more, you know, the level-headed one, whereas Sam is like, she's more of the sarcastic, wild child one. You know, she's like not as on top of her shit as Carly is. This is also definitely the dynamic she has with her brother Spencer, who's just kind of like crazy. You know, he has like an arch nemesis who's this like 11-year-old kid that lives in the same apartment complex as them. You know, just like very, very silly stuff. And then Freddie is also very much like, he's kind of even more like, him and Sam hate each other. He's a little bit more anal, you know, so they all are kind of like different levels of intensity, I suppose, between them.
So wait, so Sam and Sam and
Freddie.
Freddie. They don't date at any point. I thought they dated at a certain point.
So there's actually an episode in where Freddie confides in Carly that he's never kissed anyone. And because of ongoing beef between Sam and Freddie, she actually takes this information that she overhears and she outs him on iCarly.
Oh.
You know, making him very embarrassed. And then later on, she outs herself saying, I've never been kissed either. And then at the end, when they kiss and make up, they actually decide that maybe they should kiss. So, again, these are some of the episodes that I watched of iCarly. This is why I'm able to tell you this.
Hey, it's so rare. Well, no. I guess not. You're usually the one like holding my hand throughout the first half of the episode that we record.
Virtually too, but yeah. But yeah, so as with any kind of like Three's Company or just like triangle kind of a situation, when there's like a guy and two girls or a girl and two guys, different people are team this or team that. So for everyone who is team SETI instead of team Farley, I'm just making this up.
Okay.
That, everyone was like shipping that. They were just like, oh my gosh, Sam and Freddie, they finally, that sexual tension finally got them. I mean, these are like 15-year-olds, so maybe I shouldn't say sexual tension. But like the tension finally got to them and they kissed. But,
it's not
none of them end up together.
Like, I get it. Like, yeah. Tweens love to ship. Did no one ship Carly and Sam?
No. And it's such a shame because I shipped them, but it's Nickelodeon in the 2000s, in the early 2000s, so it was never going to happen.
It would be a long time before we get our first lesbian romance, and even that one was subjected to Nickelodeon.com. Not even.
Yeah.
Not
and
even
I'm
Nickelodeon
sorry.
proper.
I would be so fucking happy if Miranda Cosgrove was part of the Community, man. I would just be so happy to see that happen. So they didn't do it in the revival either, which is I was really hoping they would. And they didn't.
Okay.
Such a shame.
Getting ahead of ourselves here. But...
We are. I mean, I'm just saying. I really would love for Carly or Sam to be part of the Community.
To be honest, I half expect all the time now. It's just like when we get a new show, it's just like, well, where's the queer? Yeah, and
right? I think we only got like a hint that maybe some of them dabble, but no actual proof in the new one. And anyway, okay. I'm jumping ahead of myself. So Rolando, someone who just watched this show kind of, I'm assuming for the first time, what are some of your thoughts?
I thought the show was cute. I actually gravitated the most towards Freddie's character. There was such an innocence to him. I thought it's so endearing. Sam is honestly the character that I just didn't care for when I was watching.
Really?
You know what it is? Maybe it was just like the sampling of episodes I picked up. Maybe they just didn't have her do anything. But like a lot of the episodes that I ended up watching were a lot more Carly and Spencer heavy. Where Sam kind of played second fiddle, which I'm assuming there's 96 episodes, so I'm assuming I just picked the wrong ones, but or even just Freddie heavy. But like, I don't know, it was a cute show. I actually do love the idea of these kids putting on a web show and stuff. But my favorite part about it was, the whole concept for season 1 was like, oh, submit your videos. And as the show progresses, like you can tell real kids are submitting the videos. I'm just like, I'm so glad they did that.
Yeah, that was really adorable.
It'd be a missed opportunity if Nickelodeon didn't, but I think that's what made it. I don't know. This is pre-internet culture, right? This is like maybe the beginnings of internet culture, right? So they were tapping into they were predicting something that would take over in a weird way, right? I think the revival kind of touches upon like our media consumption a little better, but I think they were tapping into something that just like they were predicting something, right? I think so too. I don't think web shows are really much of a thing, but like, podcasts and stuff obviously are, right? And that audience retention and stuff. So yeah, I think they were, I'll say this, like watching it, granted the show isn't that old, but like it was still ahead of their time.
I would say so too. I definitely, yeah. And I think that it also, in its own way, did kind of make kids be more creative, the fact that at the end where it was like, send us your talents or send it, it's like embracing the things that are interesting and unique about you and giving kids a platform in that way, really cute stuff. Definitely, being more technical and, embracing the future also really positive because, you know, it's like kids are always going to be more on top of this shit than adults are anyway. So, you know, just like admit like that's the future and just kind of like roll with that, you know.
I mean, really, that's one of the lessons I learned in college was just like our competition are those kids watching YouTube videos and creating YouTube videos. That's your competition. And here we are. They are our competition as creatives, you know.
Definitely. But, you know, they're as cute as it is on the outside, you know, like, I mean, well, how many episodes did you watch?
I don't know, like 10.
Oh, okay. And do you want to talk about, like, which one did you watch that stands out to you?
Of course, the one, I saw the pilot.
Me too.
Then I saw a good handful from the first season, right? The musical episode, not musical. It was like a dance episode. I didn't care for that episode, to be honest with you.
I don't think I saw that one.
No, it's like the third episode, or third or fourth maybe. But
well, I went from the first to then like a little. Like I had very specific episodes I wanted to watch. So
I see. What else did I watch? I watched the one with Michelle Obama.
Michelle Obama was on? Wow.
She's in. Okay. It was on Paramount Plus. It shows up in the final season. This is when Michelle Obama was involved in like that Get Moving campaign, and also the Do Better campaign, right? So I think it was more so about the bullying stuff.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, no, that's a big get in my opinion for a Nickelodeon show, like a first lady. So clearly, if the Obamas are taking notice of the show, it's because like they knew it had influence on the target demographics that they're after here, in terms of whatever messaging they're after. So it makes complete sense that they would. So clearly the show, even though it was beyond my time, obviously it resonated with a certain population. What I'm trying to think of what else. Eddie made me watch the Hobo Party episode, which I thought was gonna be a whole episode dedicated to a hobo party. It was just like it was like a little gag, but hobo parties were a thing apparently. So offensive.
Yeah, I didn't watch that one.
But yeah, well, the main plot of that episode is that Spencer fakes his death to like kind of sell his art at a higher price point, and I believe that's in legalese called fraud. So, and iCarly was helping. Also, Freddie had to get in a fight with Gibby. Man, I watched so much of these in a row that they're all kind of just blending together. I don't know. What about you? Did you rewatch any of these or?
Yeah, so I watched the ones that I told you about, where the second most watched episode ever in Nickelodeon history, where he kisses Carly.
What is the first most watched episode?
That's a great question. Let's find out.
Yeah, like second best. Like what
takes Nickelodeon?
Is it when the Fairly Odd Parents have their baby?
Ever. Oh, wow.
Was I right?
No, it's Rugrats All Grown Up.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What, the first one?
The debut of
the pilot.
Rugrats All Grown Up. Yeah.
Interesting. That makes sense. I could see that being... I know.
The fourth one is The Fairly Odd Baby.
Okay. Yeah. I remember The Fairly Odd Baby was like a big deal. I watched it.
Yeah. But the first, like the top three, it's Rugrats and then iCarly.
Ooh, two iCarlys.
Yeah,
wow.
I Quit iCarly is the third most
watched, so. I was about to watch that one, and I was just like, I don't have time. I had to watch some of these new ones.
Yeah, no, I watched all the new ones because there was only 3, but I also watched the one where there was a twin. That it turns out that Sam had a twin, and Freddie thought they were playing a joke on her the whole time. Where they get nominated for an award and have to go to Japan. I watched that one.
Oh, that sounds like a fun one.
Yeah, so just like the internet told me to watch these episodes because they're considered among the best, so I watched those.
You know what? I should have done the same thing. I just kind of I was just kind of going at the title. I'm just like, all right, this seems interesting.
Yeah.
Click.
I mean, so that's the thing, too.
And they had Michelle Obama in the picture, so it was just like, wow, I'm going to watch that one.
Yeah, I saw that there was one with One Direction, but I didn't watch that one.
Oh.
One Direction was in the last season, and that's when it also it became all about the guest stars. Apparently,
yeah,
Michelle Obama, One Direction, Jimmy Fallon, all these people.
Yeah, it sounds.
And with the Will and Grace rate.
Yeah, the fact that they could get these guest stars though clearly shows the show had some power, huh?
Oh no, definitely, it was very influential with the younger crowd. You know who's a big fan of the show is Roy. So I think that it even like had people who were a little older that were watching it. But it's interesting because when you watch the show, it's like, oh, this is such lighthearted fun, like it's just about like the themes are, friendship and stuff. It's not like hitting you over the head too with like a special message episode. Like it's at the end of the day, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, because Nickelodeon isn't, they don't have to teach us a lesson.
They don't, right? They just want to entertain you. And that's nice, But it's interesting when you get a little older and then you start looking back on these things and you find out a couple of things and it just kind of puts everything in a different perspective. And unfortunately, we do have to talk about it.
All right, before we do talk about this, Eddie,
Yes.
you were a fan of iCarly and stuff.
Yes.
Like, what? Because, like, I guess, Nicole was just talking about, like, how some people were older outside of the age target demographic and stuff that were still enjoying the show. So what made you enjoy the show?
I don't know. I think it was something very fun about the show. Yeah. I like this idea, definitely, of, like, just, like, things I wish I would have done as a kid or had the technology at that time of just, like, making videos and just making fun of things and just being just very lighthearted. And producing this, this content to give the opportunity to, like, the show gave the opportunity for people to submit stuff.
Yeah.
So seeing real life kids actually try to do things to get on the show, like they would send their little videos and stuff on that.
Do you think that gave birth to the YouTube like culture in a weird way?
Maybe. I mean, maybe they helped benefit each other, but I don't know. I mean,
the YouTube culture would have always happened, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I feel like if this had such a profound influence on like young kids, like the ideas of turning YouTube into pop culture, I have to believe like maybe came from you. Like the idea of being famous from YouTube, this had to, I don't know, influence it a little.
Yeah, I think
I think so.
I think the idea too of just not like waiting for someone else to create this content. You can go out there and create it yourself and get it out there for other people.
Yeah,
I think that was like so fresh and new that the show was presenting.
Yeah. Speaking of creating content for yourself and distributing it to people out there,
give us a 5-star rating on Apple. I definitely think it did like gas it up too. It was just like put your stuff out there. I think I wouldn't have been surprised if maybe I was a little younger. I would have been like, I'm gonna make my own webcast show. And like people. I mean, anyone who did that too, just more power to you. Always like embracing a new platform and getting out there is just definitely the way to go. So
do you know how hard it is to break into TikTok?
Now, it's crazy.
Okay, and one of the things too, I just have to mention about my fascination with the show is their apartment.
Oh my god,
the apartment
what a
that they
dream
lived
apartment.
in at the
What a
Bushwell.
dream.
Okay, I've always looked how much unused space this apartment had, and literally, it's an apartment that not only has an elevator because the apartment has 3 floors. Okay, 3 floors. It also has a way to take the stairs to go to each of the floors too. So not just the stairs that you see and from the living room, but also from the back. From the stairs you could take from the kitchen all the way up to the studio. I'm just like, how much space does this apartment have?
That's when you can tell your age, right? When you're like looking at shows and you're starting the real estate of this. It's just like, how is this possible? Because I'm looking at it and I was looking at like, they have a view of the Space Needle from their window. How can an artist afford this? No way. There's no way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At least that's how we feel because we're struggling. So
they had a more fabulous apartment than Fraser Crane.
True.
Who
Well,
also has a view of the Space Needle.
If your life was a sitcom, you would technically have an apartment with the view of New York from your window. So
this is a good question.
We kind of do, though.
Yeah, you do.
You do.
Not from the kitchen, Eddie. From the
not from the kitchen.
People come with tour buses to your area to get the view that you guys fucking have. So
that is true.
Maybe there is some point of realism in it.
I suppose. I guess.
Just to say.
That Space Needle is right there, like front and center. Like they're neighbors,
They could touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely also just that's the thing that the show and a little bit of the revival does too. Is like it makes everything look like so easy, right? It's definitely one of those things where it's like, oh my gosh, it must be so easy to put your show out there, or it must be like, you know, you could reap the benefits of it so quickly. And like, oh, being an artist must make you so much money, and living this kind of life and all this stuff. You know, it gives a certain impression. I mean, one of my favorite things Rolando ever told me was how he feels like friends kind of lied to him about how friends work. You know, do you actually go in and out of each other's apartments every day like that? And are you like always together in life? And, you know, like shows like this can always give that sort of impression.
It's true. Friends in Seinfeld taught me, if just like your friends can go into your refrigerator without asking, and yet when it happens to me in real life, like a friend comes over and they just go into the fridge without asking, just like, oh, how rude! Like
you
what?
Resent them for weeks after. Yeah,
you monster.
But speaking of monsters, maybe now we should take the time.
Now we can take the time. That was an excellent segue.
Thank you for setting me up for that.
Yeah,
so there is some important tea that must be dished in, I guess, talking about iCarly. And that is the role of the producer we mentioned, Dan Schneider. In 2018, Dan Schneider, who, like I said, he was responsible for All That, The Amanda Show, Victorious, iCarly, right? One of the most prolific producers in the history of Nickelodeon. They cut ties with him. And
yes,
for a few reasons, and among the most important reason is that there were allegations of inappropriate and abusive behavior with some of these young kids that he worked with.
I think it was substantiated allegations. I think that's the key word.
Good.
Allegations are, what's it called? Allegations are fine. That doesn't necessarily equate to action, but like when they're substantiated, that's when usually action is taken. So just saying.
Yeah. It's actually part of the reason that a member of the original show did not come back to the revival.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, this is important enough that it ruined the experience for at least one member of the show. So, Rolando, do you know exactly what these substantiated allegations are?
All right. The one that I know of is that Dan Schneider was a foot fetishist.
Mm-hmm.
And would usually try to get photos and stuff of like these young ladies' feet. Yes. And I think he also like did it on Twitter. This is one of the more substantiated ones, right? Where he accidentally used the iCarly official account on Twitter, requesting celeb feats.
Oh, Jesus.
And, you know, that was a Twitter mishap, but that's why I say it's just like, these are substantiated. Like, there's actual proof out there of him doing this stuff. Jeannette McCurdy, is that her name? McCurdy. She has spoken candidly about this, that like he made her feel very uncomfortable.
Yes.
And stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, there was the foot fetish. I think just getting a little too close and too personal with some of these young girls, and multiple complaints of temper tantrums and, you know, abusive things like that. So this is the behind the scenes. And although I am an advocate for, you know, sometimes removing, you know, what we're given from what goes on behind the scenes, there are some times too where it's just like, well, this is a children's television show. This is a children's network. These are minors that are starring in these programs, and this is what happens behind the scenes. And it is kind of important that we know that this happens, actually. Because Jeannette McCurdy has retired from acting. She's the one who plays Sam. She's not looking to return to acting, and so much so that iCarly is something that she doesn't, there's so much trauma for her that she did not want to return for the revival.
Mm-hmm.
And one, you know, it begs the question then, should they have continued? Now, if it was Miranda Cosgrove, they should never have done it, even though they continued Roseanne without Roseanne, so they could do anything they want. But the dynamic does shift. And it's a noticeable one when you're watching iCarly and you realize Sam's not there, and you know why Sam's not there.
Well, knowing why is what hurts. But
yes,
I think for me, the big issue I may have taken after learning about the scandal is, doesn't he still get royalties though because he created the show?
He probably does.
Like, I know his name, like, you'll notice that his name is not attached to this unless I didn't look through the credits. I had to assume that his name he has to still be credited as creator because he created the show. Right? So even though it's not in the opening credits like it was featured predominantly in the original run, I had to. I'm gonna quickly look at that. See real quick. Is he getting credit for creating the show? But my thing is he still getting royalty though? For this, and that would be more problematic than just like having the show without Jeannette.
Jeannette
right?
McCurdy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it would be more like that. That's fine. Like you can create a show. You can go on with the show without the star. I think the bigger issue here that and I don't know the answer because I don't know for sure. But if Dan Schneider is making money off of this still, even though he's not attached to it, that's where I would say it's a little more. It's like, well, should we really be watching this?
That is a really good point, actually. And I mean, everyone knows what happened to Amanda Bynes. There are some that say that he was even responsible for that, right? Amanda Bynes being a childhood actress and then went through really severe mental health issues. I think to this day is kind of still struggling with them and stuff. And it's just like, we as a cancel culture society are very particular about the things that we do and do not want to support, right? We're going to let Louis C.K. come back into the limelight, but like Roseanne can never come back. It's a little confusing at times. And I'm not 100% convinced by all of the actions of cancel culture. But I would have to agree with something that Rolando said, where if like this is someone who is being incredibly inappropriate with minors and with children, how much do I actually want to support something that could, even if they're they were fired or they cut ties with Nickelodeon, are they still benefiting from this? Because then I don't want to support that. And I don't want to support an industry that supports that. Even though, pedophilia is running rampant in the industry, and so maybe I should think twice about that statement.
Hang on. So here's the other thing I'm going to say. Were these girls actually underage? I know they were playing characters that were underage, but that's not necessarily always the point.
Okay, so let's look at Ariana Grande, right?
Yes.
When she was in the show that she was in, she was most certainly underage.
Okay.
And there are definitely...
Was that a Dan Schneider show?
Yes.
Sam and Cat.
Oh, wait, she was in Sam and Cat?
Yeah, which is a spinoff from iCarly and Victorious.
Yeah.
Oh.
They're in the same universe.
Whoa, so many. Look at that.
And Amanda Bynes. When she was in the Amanda Show.
And Jamie Lynn Spears. And actually the rumors on the internet, on the Twitter sphere. And these are rumors. I don't know if they're true. And do not sue me, Dan Schneider, because I am here saying that these are rumors. And allegedly, you are the father of Jamie Lynn's baby. Allegedly, I'm just saying.
Wow, that's awful.
That's scandal.
That is scandal.
Look, I'm not one to kink shame, obviously, because I made a documentary literally about kinks, right? And so I don't think having a fetish of like liking people's feet is wrong. I think here what crosses the line obviously is that he is in a position of power, and it just remove the fact that the girls are minor, right? Like let's say even if he was only targeting like women who are of age, the fact is that he's still in a position of power, and to subject any woman and use his influence here to get these pictures or like sexually harass people, that's where it crosses the line. You add the fact now that if they were minors, it's just like, okay, well, this is clearly a monster, and like he shouldn't be working in the industry. You know what I mean? And I don't know, to your point, Nicole, though, like if this is something that is so true, right? Like that pedophilia runs so rampant in Hollywood. Well, why is he the one who got, he's not even burnt at the stake, but why is he the one who got like let go of if it's so rampant? Which
that
is where
is
I think
such a great question. And that's also, we're just opening this can of worms, man. And that's the thing, there have been documentaries that have been made that have been prevented from being released because Hollywood doesn't want the truth to come out. And like, you could say I'm getting on the border of conspiracy theory here, but
I'm going to say you're full on going conspiracy.
Well, unfortunately, though, when there's people who have this much power and information like that comes out, there's going to be hands in making sure it doesn't. And yet we are slowly getting things that are coming out, right? He's one of them. So it's like, well, this proves that do we actually think that Dan Schneider is the only one in Hollywood doing this? Do we actually think that?
No,
especially
but
with
I don't.
all the other things we found out about people in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at the Coreys. Look at what they were saying back in the fucking 80s.
Yeah.
It's been going on, and it's. I mean, we should at least just realize it. I mean, as two people who do podcasts, we should call a spade a spade.
Yeah, but I think we also need to have the responsibility of saying it's just like, well, these are all just allegations. You know what I mean? Like the only reason I think Dan Schneider can be used and said it's just like, well, the only reason that you can give him a public flogging is only because like, there's witnesses, the action was taken and stuff, and we know this to be actually true. When you start saying it's just like, well, so many people in Hollywood, it's just like, well, that's too vague for me, right? I need like actual specifics. I need like actual, like some credible sources. I hate to say this, but sometimes the Coreys don't feel like the Corey who's alive doesn't feel like the most credible person, especially when he was trying to just make money off of the documentary that never got released. And he says it's just like, oh, Hollywood tried to stop me. It's just like, well, you were gonna do it on the live stream, so what? Like, what are you talking about? Corey.
Well, yeah, so
Feldman?
Feldman's the one who's alive. Him has passed. And I completely understand. That's also why, when it comes to cancel culture too, it's like, hey, we should get all of our facts straight. And, and we should also look like, hey, is a person worth canceling over this and stuff? But to the Corey thing too, personal feelings about an individual aside, like when people... There are many people who also back up the claims of these people. It sometimes too, how do you feel? Like, unless there's physical evidence, we shouldn't take any accusations that a person makes of sexual misconduct seriously?
Oh no, I'm a believer of like believe the witness, believe the victim, right? But also at the same time though, it's just like, I don't know. It is so dicey, but I guess like when you start speaking in like kind of broad terms is kind of where you start losing me on that, where we have specific instances here. I'm taking like Kevin Spacey, Roman Polanski, Dan Schneider, right? Like these are actual specific credible situations here, right? And I think, but I don't think that should necessarily paint everything with a broad strokes.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm really glad that you brought up Roman Polanski, because Roman Polanski was accused, left the country, and has continued to have a career in Hollywood, and a lot of people still praise his name, even though at this point it's a fact that he's engaged in the activity that he has. So also Hollywood, has its priorities.
Well, yeah.
In front
of
it.
Have you saved Woody Allen? Comes to mind too.
Woody Allen too, exactly. Yeah. And the fact that Louis C.K. is being let back and being embraced by Hollywood. Like, I do want to use the comparison of Louis C.K. to Roseanne Barr, who will never be welcomed back simply because of one tweet. But a man who had sexual misconduct, many allegations, is being allowed back into Hollywood. Literally, you could see where their priorities are.
Yeah, the Louis C.K. one is also the one where I'm just like, what did he do exactly? He asked a woman to watch him masturbate, right?
I think he asked multiple women, and he definitely engaged in inappropriate behavior.
I mean, it is inappropriate, but
yeah.
I
think even Kevin Spacey is somewhat being allowed to, they're actually opening his return back up.
What?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I read about that. Yeah. So this is getting a little political in this way, but I do actually want to read a statement by Jeannette McCurdy, just so you also look, she might not be able to back any of this up with clear evidence, but let's just get her side of how she feels. She's iCarly star Jeannette McCurdy has opened up about the, quote, hellish time she suffered on the Nickelodeon show ahead of its comeback. This is a recent article. The 28-year-old star played Sam Puckett on the preteen show from 2017 to 2014, but the experience made her resent her life, as she explained on this podcast called Empty Inside. What a podcast title, Empty Inside. She admitted that growing up on the Nickelodeon show caused her mental health to suffer, and her self-image was drastically impacted as a result. And she, skipping forward, shooting to fame for her role as Sam has left her feeling ashamed. So, it's interesting because she has to talk around a lot of things. She can't just come out and be as honest as she'd like to. I mean, we all know this. You know, people, they kind of like have to, you know, walk on their tiptoes, and they can't come out and say exactly what they want to say. But it seems like she had a terrible time, and she definitely her interactions with Dan Schneider are a big part of that, you know. So it's just such a shame too, because morally speaking, you know, it is kind of like this weird dance you have to do with yourself, where it's like, okay, well, hey, there's all these, you know, allegations out there, but here's proof in this particular show, you know. So like covering it, I just wanted to have at least this dialogue too, because it's like, you know, well, what sort of moral quandary do you have with yourself when you watch this? And I'm speaking out loud about my own that I had.
Yeah.
So,
no, and I think that's fair, right? And I think that's ultimately where both the flaw and like the greatness of Eddie.
Well, that was Nicole. Who texts?
Well, sorry. I saw Renee sent that, and I was like, good for you.
I think that, so I think that's where, like, that's both the flaw and like the power of cancel culture, right? Because I think ultimately it's up to the audience, the viewers, the ones with the capital, who decide what is or isn't canceled, right? So if enough people do take issue, and again, there's a lot of unknowns here. I don't know if Dan Schneider himself is still making a profit of some sorts off of this revival. My gut reaction tells me most likely not, but you can never be sure because he's technically the creator of the property. So I'm sure he would have had to been compensated. However, at the same time, though, it is owned by Nickelodeon. It's owned by Viacom. So maybe Viacom has intellectual rights over it and they don't have to pay him a penny. You know what I mean?
Be nice. Yeah.
So I don't know for sure, but knowing that, but he might make money when we were rewatching iCarly though because of streaming. So you know.
Well, I know I'm never gonna watch it after this episode. So.
But no, I mean, yeah, it's a shitty thing. It's a fucked up thing because like the other problem here is just like we're not just hurting Dan Schneider, we're also hurting anyone who might make money off of these airings or re-airings, right? So if someone does make an extra buck, even Jeannette McCurdy, right? Like if she is making some money off of the streaming, then we're not just hurting him, we're also hurting others. And I think that's the ultimate problem with that's why film and TV is such a delicate ecosystem, because you're not just hurting the star. Usually these stars or whoever, they have all the fucking money already. You know what I mean? All you're just doing is kind of hurting the others in the periphery of this person. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
I know
with that, I mean, that's, we kind of like we were dishing some tea, and I think it's important to talk about it, but let's talk about the real thing here. Let's talk about
why we're here
iCarly.
Today. Let's.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love, tea.
I love dishing the tea.
Yeah.
I mean, well, let's talk about this revival, right? They announced it in December 2020 because the show has only been off the air for less than 10 years, actually. But there was enough of a fan base, and people like, hey, we're gonna bring it back because we can. So it's a Paramount Plus decision, and they announced it, and then like that, all of a sudden, it's like iCarly's now out. It wasn't even like, oh, we're doing it this day. At least to my knowledge, it was like I was waiting for them to say when they were going to release it, and then all of a sudden it was available. Yeah,
so I actually have a conspiracy theory here.
What is that?
All right, so December 2020, I want to say that it was a little bit before that when the Lizzie McGuire revival, they pulled the plug because of the way it goes right now, quoting from Hilary Duff herself, is that her and the creator had an idea for the show that Disney was just not cool with. They wanted her to be like a lady of the night, someone experiencing life, divorce, premarital sex and stuff. The show that I want to watch, to be honest. Like, I want to see Lizzie McGuire living this life.
Absolutely.
And Disney Plus was like, absolutely not. Premarital sex? No, thank you. So, and then soon after, I remember the announcement for iCarly came out. I was like, that's a little shady. Like, they're doing what Lizzie McGuire couldn't do. And now here, and I'm going to just say, here's my beef with this. It's just like, they gave me they gave me the same show.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? It is the same show.
And I guess it's a good thing if you're a fan, but if, I don't know, do I want to see Miranda Cosgrave playing the same character and not maturing, or any of these characters kind of maturing on some level? And this is where I guess on some levels I'm kind of happy that the Lizzie McGuire revival never happened, because this iCarly is what Disney Channel would have wanted.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that's not what the creator nor Lizzie McGuire or Hilary Duff, Lizzie McGuire herself would want. They would want to give us like Girls, but with Hilary Duff. You know?
Yes. It's so interesting because in theory, I think people want things. And then sometimes when they get it, it's like, did I want this? For instance, Boy Meets World. And when we covered that and when we got Girl Meets World, where we saw what it would be like if, we saw what adulthood was like for Corey and Topanga and their children. And a lot of people were like, I didn't want this shit. But like also at the same time, well, what were you expecting? You watched a sitcom, a very like in front of a live studio audience, multicam, family friendly kind of sitcom. What were you expecting?
Right.
So I do think that there are people who, when it comes to seeing a revival of iCarly, thank you. They don't want anything different. They want what works for them and what has been working for them. I mean, does it feel like I'm seeing, like, oh my God, this is so relatable. Oh my God, 2021 encapsulated into a TV show perfectly. No, I'm not thinking any of that shit when I watch iCarly. But at the same time, I wasn't really thinking that when I watched the original. And I just think it's just kind of like face value fun. And that's what the new one definitely was for me. And it was enjoyable, but it just kind of like, I don't know.
You're allergic to the show, obviously.
I guess so. When we ask for these things, we should be realistic about what we're going to get. And I don't think I was going to get anything other than what I got.
Interesting. Which is, so that's what I was thinking about as I was watching these. And I didn't do it in my usual manner of like kind of watching them in reverse order, right? Instead, this one I actually watched them not in order, but obviously like I watched the pilot first and then would carry on with like the rest of the series. Yeah. And now these. And I was just like, that's why I said earlier, I was just like, wow, like watching these was just like watching one show. They're all blurring together. And that holds true even when counting the revival, because, not for nothing, outside of Sam missing, I'm okay with that because the episodes I saw, I didn't care for Sam. And I'm just like, I don't need Sam. And this show proved to me that I don't need Sam, because the truth is like, I really just need Carly, I guess. Maybe a little bit of her brother's antics and Freddie. And even Freddie here, I wasn't like even crazy about, I suppose.
I missed Sam. The yin and yang kind of personality, but at the same time, the replacement Sam worked for me, because it's also like you just need someone to be the yang to Carly's yang.
Yeah.
And the character that we got is kind of that. She's a little bit more outspoken. She's more confident. In some ways, like when the series begins, the first episode, Carly's looking to, have a future and have a media show with a boyfriend who doesn't even feel the same way about her.
Right.
So she's still like kind of, I don't know, she could be a little bit more loose or whatever. And that's where her other friend comes in and kind of like, encourages her to be like that, and to also find herself. It seems like Carly's lost herself or whatever. She hasn't really done she's done all these other things, and now she goes back to her roots.
Which reminds me, so what in the hell? I didn't get the pilot. So they're trying to create a channel together, but Freddie's daughter made it seem that she does have a channel that she hasn't posted in a month. So I don't understand. Does iCarly exist or not? What are they talking about? Like, are they talking about YouTube channels? But they were doing things on like Instagram Live, it looked like. So I don't know.
That's what it looked like. Yes, I think they were doing YouTube lives, because you could do a live YouTube as well. All of these platforms now have like, it's like, oh, Facebook has that, I have to have that now. YouTube has that, I have to have. So they all have the same fucking things. So excuse my language. I think I'm cursing a little too much today.
Are you?
I don't know. I feel like I am.
Maybe our audience will complain.
Maybe it's a children's television show. I should tone it down. But it does seem like iCarly exists, but hasn't been activated recently. So she goes back and she activates it.
I don't know. The young Freddie's daughter was just like, you haven't posted in a month. That's like a year in internet years, which is true. She's right about that. But that I was confused. It's like, wait, I thought you were trying to start a channel with your boyfriend.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Maybe I don't know. Maybe a listener can fill us in on that. But at the same time, that's almost like a MacGuffin to me. It's not that important.
I know I'm getting into the real here, I'm getting here into like the deep storyline here, where it's reality. This is just a show. All we just needed to know was that iCarly is gonna start up her show again online. Freddie's helping, and success. She has hundreds of thousands of followers already, and
seriously. And it's so interesting too because what were you gonna say?
No, I guess it helps to have a devoted fan base.
Yeah, no, it helps to just be a success ever since you were in high school. Like this woman just had an amazing life and has, just like no conflict in her life really. So it's interesting because the show gives us very simple conflicts that aren't even really conflicts. Like, for example, in the second episode, she has a bully, right? And online bullying is a big issue. They made very light almost of it, which is fine. I don't need you to make it like an issue episode. Everyone, like at this point, everyone does have a bully. But it turns out that the guy that she's seeing, because obviously this relationship that she was in the pilot didn't work out, ends up actually being the bully. And then she's like, you know what, I'm going to make it up to him. And I'm going to, because he was a bully because I denied him to be on my show when we were younger. And then she's like, I'm going to finally put him on my show. But then she realizes the reason why she never put him on her show was because he was terrible. Like, he didn't even really have a talent. And then that was it. The story came full circle that way. So it's not like they made any real statement about bullying. Whoa. Or it's not like they actually, to me at least, I think they were just kind of like, oh, hey, here's something that everyone can relate to. And here's a fun storyline about it.
Did you... Yeah, I don't know. I actually didn't mind that episode.
No, I'm not. By no means am I complaining. I'm just saying that that's also very much iCarly is just doing what iCarly always does, where it's like,
yeah.
Like,
that's what it did feel
like.
Like.
Time to like. That's the thing. I think iCarly lives like ignorance is bliss in iCarly world, right? And it's like, oh, here's like a real issue, but it's not even an issue. It's like a very simple, easily fixed issue. And then, it very much is just like she lives in her own bubble. And I think that's also what's so appealing about it. It's like, oh, imagine a world like this. You almost want to live vicariously through iCarly or live in her life, I don't know. And what I'm saying coming through? Or
a little bit. Like, I understand where you're coming from for sure here. I think on some level, maybe what I'm like kind of my disconnect here is more so that it's just like, did you really expect to learn anything from iCarly though? Like,
well, that's the thing.
I didn't need to have a profound statement on the bullying and stuff. Like, I didn't think it was that deep about bullying because.
But if you were to go to the counterpart, right, a Disney Channel show, do you think a Disney Channel would overlook something like that, or do you think they would take that a little bit more seriously?
That's a good question. Like a Disney Plus Channel show, like
either or. You watched Disney Channel more than I did as a kid, so maybe you would know. And then also, like maybe other shows that are more directed to families, and to kids.
I can only really speak to like Lizzie McGuire or even Stevens, right? Where I think those probably would have had a little bit more of a moralistic storyline tied up to the end, right?
Yeah.
So like I would say that there's morality usually in those storylines as opposed to what I've seen from iCarly.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have this moral agenda to it, which some might consider refreshing, and others might be like, oh, well, if I'm going to put my children in front of a television show, I would want them to treat something like this, a little bit more seriously. Me personally, being a grown-ass woman, I actually like the ignorance is bliss aspect part of this show. Like I said, and like you said, do we really need this from iCarly? No, we don't. I guess, to each their own in terms of, what they want in terms of content for their children.
Yeah, you just want to veg out. Interesting. You keep saying content for your children. Do you think this iCarly reboot was made for kids?
Well, so the original show was a show for preteens, which I still consider children.
Right.
Because you're still very young and impressionable.
A preteen you're a pre-teenager. You're a child.
You're like 10 to 13. Yeah, you are a fetus. Yeah. I think that this is still a show that that age group could very easily watch. Because even though they're older now and like, okay, maybe iCarly has kind of like, now she's dating. It's not like they show like, she's like, oh, I don't really say this, but let's go somewhere more comfortable. Cut to them watching Law and Order under like 3 blankets.
Which I want to talk about. It's just like that age demographic wouldn't be watching Law and Order. They'd be watching Law and Order SVU.
Yeah.
Not Law and Order. I just want to point that out because it's not about the criminal activity. It's about the sexual deviance that has the audience pull.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, that is a good point. But at the same time, I was like, oh my God, iCarly, right? Yeah, she's an adult now. Are we going to get like more sexual innuendos? And we didn't really get it. Which is fine though, because at the same time, I don't want iCarly. I don't want to, know about iCarly's sex life in detail.
What? So, we were just talking about Lizzie McGuire. She wanted to have a show where she was having premarital sex. Is that not the show that we wanted?
But that's the thing. Like, does an iCarly show, oh my God, iCarly's coming back. Do they want a completely different show or do they want the same template that they've been, watching on reruns for the past 10 years?
I don't know. I would have loved to see like Miranda Cosgrave. Like, why can't it be like a multi-camera sitcom that's like, full of sexual innuendos like Golden Girls or
well, then
even
it wouldn't
like
be a
Sex and
revival,
the City.
It would be a new show.
But yeah, but with the same characters.
I mean, well, so that's the thing too, is that I think if you're going to revive a show, you're going to want to give people what they've been missing. You're going to want to catch up you're going to want to pick up where you left off. And so I don't think people want to see that show. It's more realistic, but like I said, this is very much like its own fantasy world, and people want to live in this fantasy world with them.
Well, man, and that is kind of depressing me to me.
Well, okay, so what about, Eddie, the show that you got, right? You watched the revival. Are you happy with this, or did you want to see something different?
No,
as a fan of
different.
iCarly.
No, as a fan of iCarly, I did not want to see grown-ass people in their late 20s and 30s acting like children. I did not want to see that the most independent individual happens to be a child.
Yeah,
which is like, the one that seems to get her way and is always like, hey, I'm doing this, I don't give a shit what anybody says, is a child. And by the way, I hate that trope. And this is a character I do not like because it just feeds into this fact is like, once again, the 11-year-old knows more than all the adults in the room.
You be careful.
So, and it's like iCarly when Carly said to Freddie, like step it up, parent it up here, and still he still is not strong enough to be the father that this girl needs. Yeah, I wanted them to be a little more adulty. I did.
In terms of the actual tone, though, did you want a different tone, or did you like the tone of the show?
No, I wanted to keep the same kind of like light comedy, but there is always the possibility of inserting something here that can be thought provoking. We saw this in One Day at a Time, where you still have that comedy element. It's still so funny, but you have moments there that are you could take away that this is something has substance. iCarly is not giving me substance, and maybe the show definitely is not the show that I was hoping for. You do have we haven't talked about it yet, but we do have an introduction of a bisexual character here. That gets slightly, like it's like, yeah, you when you walk into a room, all the guys and all the hot girls love you.
Yeah, actually, that reminded me, Eddie. Actually, yeah, you were talking about like I don't want to know about Miranda Cosgrave's sex life, but like we got to see her roommate's sex life. Like she was coming out in a furry outfit while the other girl was like, "Oh no, this is not
for me.
This is the ick." And it was just like, so wait, so we can't know about iCarly. I keep calling her iCarly. Carly's Carly's sexual walkabout, but we can only learn about we can sexualize the black woman. That seems problematic in my opinion.
Maybe. I mean, hey, I'm not like an iCarly fan or anything. I'm just assuming that the show we got is because you say the word thought provoking, and I'm like, well, the original show, that's one word I would never call iCarly is thought provoking. I think it's just like this fun kind of ignorant show. Like, and I don't even mean ignorant in a bad way. Like, I just don't think it has time, or its purpose isn't to like be, like, oh, we're gonna talk about, moral. We're gonna be more moral, and like, it's not its agenda. It just wants to have.
There's something I want to say though.
Go ahead.
The thing, like, what I am picking up, and maybe I'm reading into it, is commentary about like the internet here. When you do have the hater show, I feel like I even hear it from you, Rolando, is like, I want someone to hate me. I want to argue with a fan. You guys are always saying something to that effect. Like, I want someone to disagree with me.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to go at them. So, and even I don't remember her name at all, but Freddie's daughter say, I wish I had a hater.
Yeah.
I wish I had a hater because there is like, I've arrived on my platform. I arrived as an influencer when I have people go against me in some way.
Yeah, sure.
And then you have Spencer's art display, about all the stupid things that we praise on the internet. And I found that pretty interesting. I would go to a show like that because it's for us to see, like, yeah, we like all these things, but it's kind of ridiculous a little bit.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Kind of ridiculous.
Honestly, my favorite piece was the latte one. Like, is this art? Question mark. I'm just like, you know what? If I saw that at a museum, I actually would be like, oh, I love it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, hey, the show isn't like, it's not like it doesn't give us anything interesting. I actually also liked the art episode. It was probably my favorite one because I actually thought his art was actually kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. And, people's reaction, like, I think we were talking about this with Rugrats too. Like, what is art? What constitutes as it and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the reason we kind of found that, all right, and this is why I would agree with you. I think my favorite episode of the 3 so far was the 3rd episode. And I think that one is because that one finally gave me one where I'm seeing culture clashing, right? Which is what I think ultimately is where I think the show, for me, I have a theory on that. But that one we see the clash of culture, right? Where we have the millennial kind of going up against here the Gen Z? She would be what, Gen Z?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
she's not millennial, Gen Z.
Okay, so and we see like what there is a little bit of a culture fight there. But ultimately, I think the show kind of drops the ball for me here is, and I don't know if it's ultimately part of a higher message, right? But I was complaining about the immaturity of these kids. I don't know if at 26, which is what, 7 years younger than me, right? These characters are 26. If this is the kind of state right now that this target audience, right, who I'm going to assume is a little younger, so right, the kids who are watching this and kind of wanted this revival.
Yeah, they were probably 26 themselves.
Oh, they might be even younger, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know if what the show's trying to tell me is that the state of affairs for this younger generation is kind of much more infantile, right? And I am not trying to say this is not me as an older person saying it's like, God, youth culture is the worst. Like, they don't have. I'm trying to say more as like the creators of this show. What are they trying to say about our the younger generations, like, after us, right? Like, this is kind of on some level, like, this is some dark shit. Like, Freddie is living with his mom. This girl has a roommate and stuff, and kind of deciding to say, I'm going to be an internet star. Like, this is like on face value. If you gave me a pitch of this show, this sounds dreary as fuck, right? It does. All right. And so, like, the fact that, again, you keep saying they're in their own little bubble, and that's fine. But, like, let's really look at what they're packaging here. This is dark shit. All right. Like, Freddie had 2 failed startups. He adopted
2 failed marriages.
And 2 failed marriages.
And
adopted a stepdaughter, right? Who kind of hates him. All right. And look, they're playing this up for comedy, but I don't know. It seems, and then I just think the whole idea of like a character like Carly deciding I'm going to be a YouTube sensation at 26 is just like, are there really no jobs? Like, that's it?
But it's not like she started from nowhere. I mean, this girl has.
I get it.
She was on the Jimmy Fallon show when she was 17. So.
Oh, right. I don't know. I'm just saying. It's just like, all right, fine. Let's take that as it's canon, obviously, right? But what then? Her career kind of staled, and now she's trying to rebuild a brand. Kind of still a little bit dreary, I think.
I suppose. Yeah.
And then her
Even though she doesn't say that though, even though she says the opposite, she says, "I'm not there for the likes." Of course, I mean she's interested in the likes, but she says, "I'm not there for that. I'm there to offer something and make people happy."
yeah.
You know, I mean that's her character's optimistic, idealistic goal in that sense.
Yeah.
Is to see I want to put stuff out there that make people happy, make people laugh.
I wonder if they're gonna take submissions.
What do you mean?
Like, you
Like
know
they
how
used to in
iCarly, like you could submit stuff to iCarly.
Oh.
Like, I wonder if they're gonna take like shit from social media that when they tag up and post it on the show. I don't know. It seems like
Yeah, I
another
wonder.
opportunity. It depends on the fan base, I guess, right? But
It does,
I don't know.
yeah.
I was just thinking, I guess, like, well, watching the show, yeah, it's silly, it's irreverent, it's kind of, you know, it's corny, but I think cute corny. I kept thinking, just like, I don't know, like, you could have taken these situations that these characters are in, you could have gone a little darker and still played it up for laughs, and I would have been, like, okay with that.
Interesting.
And
All
I think
right.
I would have preferred that.
So then, this begs the question: was this revival needed?
I'm going to tell you straight up, yes, it was needed for me, and here's why. It showed me what Lizzie McGuire most likely would have been and how upsetting that would have been to me, and my heart would have shattered into a million pieces. So seeing how they did iCarly a little dirty, in my opinion, is just like kind of just like, you know what? I kind of needed to see this so I could let go of my Lizzie McGuire fantasies, because I'm not
There you
going to
go.
get like
Yeah.
the HBO-esque show
Absolutely
and see like
not.
Lizzie McGuire one episode say, you know what, guys? I want to try this new thing called rim jobs, and then having Gordon just like fucking do like a face slap, being like, oh my god. Hopefully, you know what? Hopefully Gordon is straight up gay.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but I hope so.
Gordo. Oh, that's right. You didn't watch Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah. Well, so I've defended this revival in honor of the fans who I'm sure my guess is that most of them maybe wanted like the same exact show that they've been watching. Like, if you wanted a new Friends, you're not going to want like a drama about what it's like being like 50 something. Like, you're going to want a sitcom like show, like, with them doing the old shenanigans. Like when Will and Grace came back, that's why they retconned it, because they wanted to see the same exact fucking show. So I'm only assuming that's what fans wanted, and that's why they got this. But
oh no,
being what?
Oh, that just made me realize. Am I being hypocritical? Because I actually like the Will and Grace revival.
I mean,
Because-
maybe you are.
And then like, but I also wasn't a fan of this show. I guess maybe. All right, go ahead. I'll let you finish your thought. And
Well, that's
I'll-
the thing. I'm not a fan of this show. I wasn't, like, I saw it, I was familiar with it, watching it and making me just realize, it's just like, MT fun. Absolutely no, it wasn't needed. But at the same time, it's like, hey, if this is what people want and they just, and this is what they got and this is what they're happy with, then like, whatever. Sometimes it's simpler is kind of better. And, it's not really giving me anything like, I'm like, oh, wow, like, fucking intellectual property in the sense where it's like, giving these really interesting commentaries on life and what it is to be alive. It's not doing any of that for me, and that's fine.
Right.
And I don't think that it's its purpose. It's not.
Yeah.
So I think that as long as the fans are happy, whatever. That's how I
Yeah.
feel. Well, so wait, how do you feel hypocritical?
No. I feel like it might be hypocritical of me, because the reason I like the Will and Grace show was because like they kind of were giving me more of what I liked about it originally, and they just kind of like they just matured the characters to fit their storylines. I think for me, maybe the reason this was a little bit more of a miss, despite the fact that it did what Will and Grace did, was the fact that they didn't mature the characters, and that they kind of didn't also, and I think they also kind of had a good premise in terms, when I was talking about the bleakness, it's just like thinking about that, it's like, yeah, you could have just played that up a little bit more.
All right, I'm going to actually defend the show one last time because, when you saw the show originally, they were children. And if you're going to watch the show, you're going to want them to have the same qualities as when they were younger. So a perfect answer to that is, oh yeah, they're just like a bunch of, stunted adults. And that's how you get the same exact Carly as before, the same exact Freddie as before. Because why do shows jump the shark? That's when you change things, right? Anytime you think about a show that jumped the shark, a dynamic shift happened within the show. And people don't want that. People just want what they got originally, and they want that to last for 10 fucking seasons. And that's also why these shows go on for so long and then have the potential to ruin it, because they change things, and people don't want change. People are not open to change.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, but I also think that people can be stupid. So.
Oh yeah, well, I definitely agree with that.
Eddie, what?
Yes.
You are the fan. You like the actual. You actually like the show, the original one. So I don't know.
Yes.
Did you think this was needed?
I was actually looking forward to this in a weird kind of way. I was excited to see like what they would do with an adult iCarly. How would they play out? So, yeah. But as I'm watching it, I'm like, who is this for, really? Like who's this for? I feel like it's not like people who watched it and now they're watching it with their kids. I don't feel that way. And then it's like the comedy is just like, once again, it's just like, this is, come on, you can't be this silly all the time. It can't be silly, you know. A comedy, it shouldn't always be silly. There are moments where it can be funny, but it can say something. The opportunity for you can see a character's depth, like that whole bit between siblings. Carly and Spencer, when his feelings are hurt, that moment at the end, it could be like, we're brother and sister here. It's just us. It's just us. There is no mom and dad. We need to make sure that we're for each other instead of against each other. I think like lost moments like that. But I'm happy to see though that I really, for that particular episode of Spencer's artwork, that character Willow.
Oh, yeah.
I think played by Josie
yeah.
Tota. I'm saying her name wrong. I think Totah. And she was in Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
The revival of Saved by the Bell too.
That's where I knew her from.
Yeah, I'm just like loving this this actress.
Oh yeah, she had only like a few scenes in the episode.
I'm like, I want her back. This is a character to be so fascinating to like be recurring, like maybe like a friend, like she becomes a friend of iCarly. Like, I'm an influencer that influences the influentials.
Yeah, I think she actually had great delivery, and it was surprising for me because like I remembered her from Saved by the Bell when you pointed her out, and that was a range. That's like a range that she was able to portray here. Granted, she was playing like the snotty valley girl in one, and I just thought that sometimes you just cast people who that's just who they are. So that's was my assumption of who she was. Here we kind of see like a way more subdued, but yeah, I thought it was a good portrayal. So I was kind of like, oh, maybe she is gonna be like an up and coming star. I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. I like her too.
And we need more trans
transgender.
Yeah. We need more trans.
Great.
Yeah, we need more trans representation. So that would be great for
Absolutely.
Hollywood.
So that is why this revival was needed.
Well, she has an actual main role in like Saved by the Bell. So.
Yes. No. Yeah. She has. Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, either be like, for me, I would have been excited to see like Spencer finally coming out of the closet, a brother, or even Freddie. Like Freddie's like, hey, let me try this.
I of course want to see the ladies, so yeah. I would have loved it if iCarly was the one who is bisexual, but at the same time, I don't really see these people as sexual beings. So if that makes sense, because everything's just so
asexual.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, is it weird?
Yeah, kind of that too. Yeah.
For older audiences now, it's just like, wow, like Miranda Cosgrave is like, well, she's real, she's hot.
Oh my god, she hasn't aged. She looks the same.
Mm-hmm. I think she got a little filler work.
I mean, she is a little hot. She's a hottie, but
yeah, she is. But it's just weird, right? Because you know her from like as a little child. Yeah, I know her from school. I know her from School of Rock. So
yeah, that too. I just realized what I said and that sounded wrong. So let's make sure we edit that out.
What? What did you say?
I said she hasn't changed and that she's a hottie. So
oh no, but like we know what you mean. Like you're not saying that you weren't sexualizing her as a child.
Now it's in the revival that I was attracted to her. I was not attracted to her. Of course,
yes. Where's that shovel? Where's that shovel? Keep digging. Keep digging.
Oh man.
Fun fact: Miranda Cosgrove.
Cosgrove.
Grove is in the Guinness Book of Records.
For what?
The 2012 edition. She was the highest paid child actress.
Oh yeah, the kids from Modern Family broke that record fairly a few years later. Yeah. That's into that. Good for her.
Cool.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. You guys, have you guys seen the new iCarly? Are you planning on seeing the new iCarly? Did we spoil a lot for you guys? Because I don't know. Maybe no one's seen it yet. Maybe you guys have busy weekends. I don't know. But let us know what you guys think. You guys can email us. Our email is remakes, reboots, revivals @gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys. You can also hit us up on our social media, facebook.com/remakes, reboots, revivals, and on our Instagram, where it is poppin', Instagram account, remakes, reboots, revivals. And you guys can also give us a call and leave us a voicemail. Nicole, take it away.
862-248-2326. Leave us a voicemail. Again, that number is 862-248-2326. If you like this podcast, please rate it on Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star review. Tell us what you think. And just tell anyone in any way you know how about this podcast. It really does help us.
Yep. And I think that's all we have to say on iCarly. Did she have a sign off?
And we're clear.
Until next time,
stay original.